Family kicked me out at 16 over lies. 30 years later, they're begging for forgiveness after learning the truth. Hey Reddit, so I've been lurking here for a while, and thought it was about time I shared my story. It's been a pretty wild 30 years, and I wanted to give you all the details, so bear with me, because this might get a bit long. Alright, so let's start from the beginning. I lost my mom to breast cancer when I was 12 years old. It was just me and my dad after that, and honestly, it was one of the hardest times of my life. But we managed to stick together and get through it somehow. When I was 14, my dad met this amazing woman named Ashley. They hit it off, and before I knew it, they were getting married. Ashley came with 2 kids of her own, David, who was also 14, and Anna, who was 12. So suddenly, I went from being an only child to having a stepbrother and stepsister. At first, things seemed pretty good. I got along well with Ashley and Anna. They were kind and made me feel welcome. But David? Not so much. From the get-go, David and I just couldn't see eye to eye. We were always arguing and fighting about something. My dad would constantly tell me to cut David some slack because he'd been the man of his house for a while, but it felt like no one understood that this was new for me too. When I was 15, I met this girl at school named Emma. We started dating, as much as you can date when you're 15, you know? We'd hang out, go to the movies, that sort of thing. But here's the kicker. David had a huge crush on Emma and was super mad that I asked her out before he could. One day, he even started a fight over it, and my dad had to step in to break it up. Somehow, though, I ended up being the bad guy in the whole thing. Then things got way worse after my 16th birthday. One day, my stepmom was putting away my laundry and started yelling out of nowhere. This was super awkward because Emma was at our house at the time. We all rushed to my room to see what was going on, and there was my stepmom holding several pairs of Anna's underwear and accusing me of having them in my drawer. I was shocked. I had never seen them before and had no idea how they got there. I tried to explain that I didn't know anything about it, but no one believed me. Then David jumped in, saying he'd seen me staring at Anna and even claimed I once said I wished I could marry her. It was all lies, but it was enough to turn everyone against me. Emma slapped me, called me a perv, and broke up with me right then and there. My dad was beyond angry. He grabbed me by the arm, dragged me out of the house, and yelled that he wasn't going to put his daughter at risk from a perv. Not the exact word he used, but you get the idea. I was crying, banging on the door, trying to get back in and explain, but my dad had had enough. He opened the door, shoved me to the ground, and told me to get lost. I told him I had nowhere to go, and he just said that wasn't his problem and slammed the door. So there I was, 16 years old, out on the streets with nothing to my name and no place to go. I tried calling my grandparents on my dad's side, but he had already talked to them, and they told me they wouldn't help a perv. My mom's parents had passed away before I was born, so I had no one else to turn to. I wandered around for a bit, trying to figure out what to do. I ended up sleeping in parks, behind buildings, and anywhere else I could find some shelter. It was a really rough time. I didn't have any money or food, and I was constantly scared of what might happen to me. Eventually, I found a local shelter that took me in. They helped me get back on my feet a little bit, giving me a place to sleep and some food. I started doing odd jobs here and there to make a little money. It was tough, but I managed to survive. Years went by, and I slowly started to rebuild my life. I finished high school, got a job, and eventually found a small apartment to live in. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and I was proud of how far I'd come. Even now, thinking back on those times is really hard. The betrayal from my own family, the loneliness, and the struggle to survive. It all left a deep scar on me. But I also learned a lot about myself and how strong I could be. While I lived on the streets for 2 years, doing what I had to in order to survive, no kid should have had to do what I did just to live. Just saying. There were some really dark days. Lots of therapy later in life helped me with this. Shortly after I turned 18, I found a job working at a boxing gym states away from where I began this horrible journey. I worked there for years, learned the sport, never going to beat Mike Tyson, but I was good at it, which helped me with my hate and anger. Then one day, I met a girl, Liam, 20 female, at the cafe down the street from the gym. At this point, I was 35. I know, huge age gap, but we just clicked. I don't believe in fate or soulmates or any of that stuff, but if there is such a thing, we had it. I don't know how else to put it. We dated for 2 years and then got married. Her dad, an electrician, hired me on afterward, probably to ensure I could support his daughter and keep me in check. He never said it, but as a dad, I get it now. Well, 15 years later, we're still together with 4 beautiful daughters. I just passed my master's license as an electrician, thanks to my wife for pushing me to get my GED. She's been my rock, my cheerleader, my overall support through it all, and I can't tell her enough how much she changed my life and how much I love her. Anyway, sorry for the tangent. Just this last weekend, I received an email from my stepsister. Not sure how she got my email address, but it's not hard via the internet. Not like I've been hiding, mind you. I'm now pushing 53, so it's been 30 plus years since I've heard from any of them. It was a long, long email. Not going to give you all of it, but the meat of it is they now know what really happened. David, I guess, was busy drinking with his buddies on Friday, and somehow my name was mentioned. David started bragging about how he set me up and took my girl. Yep, David and Emma got together and married all those years ago. They were all laughing, hoping I died on the streets, bunch of rude and vile stuff. Guess he forgot Emma was there, and she heard it all. So she called my stepsister to let her know. Anna spent all weekend trying to find me. Like I said, the email was long. Short of it is they want to apologize face to face, though it was already said multiple times in the email, and want to make up for lost time. I'm However, indifferent to the idea. Like, I have no ill feelings towards her. She obviously was young and had no real say in the matter. But with lots and lots of therapy, I learned to let go of that hate and anger and to let go of them as well. With all the love I've received from my wife, kids, and in-laws, it's all I really need. I'm of the idea of just deleting the email and moving on like nothing happened. My wife thinks I should at least respond back. Even if to say something snarky like, "Thanks for finally believing me," only took over 30 years. Did I mention my wife has a mean, petty streak to her? LOL. She's awesome. Not asking for advice, just wanted to share my story. There's a boxing quote that I have up in my house that reminds me every day. To see a man beaten, not by a better man, but by himself, is a tragedy. Edited. Pushing 52 to 53 because apparently people are getting hung up on my age. Because, if it's not perfect, yes, that's it for you. Update 1. First, I want to thank everyone for their kind words and advice. I wasn't looking for advice, just wanted a place to share my story. To those that gave me credit for overcoming everything, thank you. However, the wife thinks she deserves most of it. LOL. And in all honesty, she does. To those that think this is fake, it's Reddit. I get it. It is what it is. Most things have to be taken with a grain of salt. I share my story. I can't make you believe me, but that's okay. If my story resonates and helps others know they can survive, then I'm happy with that. And that's all that matters. Okay, for the update. Can I post most of the original email? A lot of you have requested it. I kept out some deeply personal info, but the majority of it is here. Might have to break it up due to character limits. Plus, a response with the help of my wife, and also the help of others who made suggestions. Which is good, because I'm not that great at putting down in words how I feel without coming off looking dumb. She was able to make me sound less dumb. LOL. Taking the family to the lake for the weekend to recharge and leave this all behind me. Thanks again to everyone. Edit. Dear Opie, this is your sister, Anna. As I sit down to finally reach out to you after what feels like an eternity, I would like to explain why. I understand if you choose not to read this, but I truly hope you will take the time to at least hear me out. First of all, I want to apologize for never taking the time to contact you before. I was misled by David and Dad, who constantly painted a negative picture of you in my mind. They filled my head and heart with lies and made me believe that you were someone you were not. For a while, I held on to hope that you would come back home. But as time passed and their words continued to poison my thoughts, I let go of that hope and allowed myself to believe the worst about you. It pains me to admit that I even started to hate you, despite the fact that deep down, I always considered you a brother to me. I felt betrayed by the twisted image that was presented to me, and I regret not reaching out to hear your side of the story sooner. A lot has changed in our family since you left. I got married, and now you're an uncle. Mom and Dad are still together and are preparing for retirement. David and Emma eventually got married, and they have no children. However, the truth that has recently come to light has shaken the very foundation of everything I thought I knew. On Friday, Emma overheard David boasting about how he orchestrated the setup against you, how he manipulated the situation to make you look bad, and how he convinced us to turn against you. To his friends, as they all got drunk, they laughed about the pain he caused you and the lies he spread, all while belittling you in the cruelest and meanest ways possible, saying things like they hoped you died in the streets. Emma couldn't keep this bombshell to herself, and when she confided in me, my world came crashing down. To think that I could have been so wrong about you for all these years is a heavy burden to bear. I can't begin to express how deeply sorry I am, as is Emma. We both realize now the extent of the manipulation and deceit that was carried out against you, and we are devastated by this fact. After sharing this revelation with Mom and Dad started crying, like really crying. I'd never seen him cry before. I believe it's because he's been carrying around a lot of guilt all these years. Obviously, now knowing the truth, he's having to deal with the consequences of his actions. After several hours of talking, we all came to the conclusion that we needed to find you and make amends. I've spent hours trying to locate you in the hopes that I could reach out and extend a heartfelt apology for the years of misunderstanding, mistreatment, and hurt. I know that words can never undo the damage that has been done to you, but I sincerely hope that you can find it in your heart to forgive us. We long to make amends, to start anew, and to maybe even make up for lost time. Please know that I am truly sorry for the pain and hurt that you have endured because of our ignorance and blindness. I hope that someday we can meet in person so that I can look you in the eye and express my remorse face to face. I can only hope that you will consider giving us a chance to right the wrongs of the past and to heal the wounds that have been inflicted on you by us. With all my love and sincerest apologies, your sister, Anna. Dear Anna, I appreciate you taking the time to reach out to me, but I must be honest with you. The years of pain and hurt caused by the lies and manipulation by David and the betrayal by Dad have left deep scars that will never truly heal. While I understand that you are now aware of the truth and are genuinely sorry for what has transpired, I find it difficult to simply forgive and forget. The betrayal and abandonment I experienced at the hands of my own family have left me with a sense of distrust and resentment that can never be overcome. The damage that has been done has impacted me in ways that you may never fully and truly understand, and the idea of trying to reconcile now feels like an insurmountable task. I have spent years in therapy, trying to come to terms with the pain and deep trauma I endured, and I have worked hard to build a wonderful life for myself that does not rely on the presence or approval of those who turn their backs on me. While I am grateful for the apology and the newfound awareness of the truth, I do not feel compelled to rekindle a relationship that was built on lies, deception, and betrayal, especially after all these years. I have found peace and closure in distancing myself from those who caused me harm, and I do not see the need to reopen old wounds in the name of reconciliation. While I believe in the power of forgiveness, that isn't something I can give. I wish you all the best in your life. I really do, but I must prioritize my emotional health and self-preservation above all else. I hope you can respect my decision and understand that the wounds of the past will take a lifetime to heal. I would appreciate it if you pass this fact on to the others, and please don't reach out again. I must look to my future and not my past. Sincerely, Op. Update 2. Hey Reddit, strap in folks, because I've got an update that's basically a season finale level twist in the saga of my life. Life's been throwing punches, and just when I thought I had my footing, the ground shifted again, big time. Let's break it all down, and trust me, you might want to grab a coffee because this is a long one. First things first, I got a call last week that stopped me in my tracks. A hospital called about my dad. He's seriously ill, and the doctors were talking in terms of not much time left. That news alone was a lot to handle, but life had more in store. Almost simultaneously, I found out that my stepbrother David has been disowned by my dad. Yep, the plot thickens. Apparently, after years of bad decisions and escalating behavior, my dad reached his breaking point. But here's where it gets even juicier. Emma. Remember her? The girl both David and I dated way back when? Well, she left him, and she didn't just walk away quietly. She dropped some truth bombs on her way out that have seriously shaken the foundations of what I thought I knew. During their final blowout, Emma said David bragged about how he manipulated the whole situation that led to my teenage years falling apart. The accusations, the lies, everything. He thought he was impressing her with his control and cunning, not realizing it would backfire. Emma was horrified, and once they split, she felt I deserved to know the truth after all these years. So there I was, dealing with my dad being ill and hearing that my life was turned upside down all those years ago based on a twisted power play by David. It was vindicating and infuriating all at once. All the pain, the struggles, the lost years because of petty jealousy and lies. With all this swirling in my head, I still had to face the reality of seeing my dad, possibly for the last time. I wrestled with a storm of emotions. Anger, hurt, a weird sense of duty, and yeah, love. It's complicated. I decided to go see him. I needed closure, and maybe, just maybe, there was a part of me that needed to know if there was anything salvageable between us. Sitting by his hospital bed was surreal. He looked so frail, so different from the imposing figure of my youth. He apologized, actually apologized. He said he'd found out too late about all of David's lies and was eaten up with guilt. We talked a lot, cried a bit, and it felt like we were tearing down some massive walls. It wasn't neat or tidy, but it was real, a raw, painful step towards something that might look a bit like healing. After that hospital visit, I've been doing a lot of thinking. What does forgiveness look like? Is it even possible? And what about the rest of my family? There's a lot to unpack. Emma reaching out and being honest was a big deal, and it's changed how I see many things. I'm grappling with how, or if, I want to reconnect with any part of my past, including her. As for my daily life, I've been trying to keep things normal, focusing on work, my own family, and a bit of self-care. But man, it's tough. It's like trying to stay steady on quicksand. So here's where I turn to you guys again. How do you handle revelations that shake everything you believed about your past? How do you deal with the emotions of potentially losing a parent, complicated as your relationship might be? Any advice on managing these heavy, messy feelings would be massively appreciated. Thanks for letting me spill all this. Sometimes just typing it out helps put things into perspective. I'll keep you updated as I navigate through these choppy waters. Here's to hoping for some peace, or at least a little less drama in the near future. Update 3. Hey Reddit, here I am again with another slice of life update. And trust me when I say it's been an absolute whirlwind. Just when I think I might catch a break, life says, hold my beer, and throws another curveball my way. So grab a comfy seat and maybe a snack, because this is going to be a long one. Let's start with the heaviest part. My dad passed away. After my last update, his condition worsened rapidly, and soon after he was gone. The mix of emotions has been overwhelming. Grief, relief, unresolved anger, and a strange sense of liberation, all tangled together. It's like walking through a fog where you can't see a foot in front of you, but can feel everything intensely. The funeral was something else. It brought together family members I hadn't seen in decades, each of us with our own complicated feelings about my dad. The air was thick with a cocktail of sorrow, regret, and the awkwardness of rekindling conversations with relatives who were practically strangers now. At the wake, amidst the quiet murmurs and the clinking of coffee cups, I found myself locked in surprisingly heartfelt conversations. First, there was Anna, my stepsister, who seemed just as nervous about talking to me as I was about talking to her. We ended up stepping outside, standing under the bleak sky, and pouring out our feelings and frustrations about the past years. It felt like lancing a wound, painful but necessary, and in some ways healing. Then there was Emma. Her appearance was a shock. She looked so different yet so familiar. We barely spoke at the funeral, just a few awkward glances, but a few days later, she reached out, asking to meet. I was hesitant, but curious. Over a long coffee that went cold too soon, she told me everything, how David had twisted things, how she'd been manipulated, and how sorry she was for everything that had happened. It was a lot to process. We parted with a tentative agreement to try and move past our history. Though what that means, I'm still figuring out. These past weeks have forced me to confront my feelings about forgiveness. It's one thing to forgive someone who's no longer here, like my dad. It's an abstract kind of peace. But forgiving those who are still alive, who can still hurt you or ask for forgiveness, that's a whole different ballgame. I've started journaling again, something I hadn't done in years. It's become my nightly ritual, a way to debrief myself on the day's thoughts and happenings. It's surprising how much you can learn about yourself just by writing things down. Looking forward, I'm cautiously optimistic. I've decided to take small steps towards building some kind of relationship with Anna, and maybe even Emma. It's not about picking up where we left off. Too much has changed for that, but maybe building something new on the ruins of the past. I'm also seriously considering starting therapy. I've realized that some wounds are just too deep to heal on their own, and maybe it's time to get some professional help to sort through this maze of emotions. So here I am, asking for your wisdom once again. How do you rebuild trust with people who have hurt you in the past? How do you balance the hope of reconciliation with the protection of your own emotional health? And how do you handle the grief that comes from losing someone who was both a source of pain and love in your life? Thank you all for sticking with me through this journey. Your words of encouragement, advice, and sometimes just the comfort of knowing someone out there is listening have been more helpful than I can express. I'll keep updating as I navigate through these uncharted waters. Here's to hoping for calmer seas ahead. Update 4. Hey Reddit, I'm back with yet another deep dive into the ongoing saga of my life. This journey has been filled with ups and downs, and your support has been instrumental in helping me navigate through. So grab your favorite snack, maybe a comfy blanket, and settle in because there's quite a bit to unpack today. Life post-Dad's passing has been a roller coaster. While it brought closure on some fronts, it also opened up a whole new set of dynamics within the family, particularly with Anna and Emma. Both relationships have evolved in ways I never expected, leading to some introspection about forgiveness, acceptance, and moving forward. After reconnecting at the funeral under such somber circumstances, Anna and I have been cautiously circling back into each other's lives. It started with tentative texts and progressed to regular phone calls. We even managed a couple of face-to-face meetups for coffee, which felt like stepping back in time, but with a new perspective. These meetups have been about untangling the past, confronting our memories, and discussing everything from daily trivialities to deep-seated family issues. It's been both healing and harrowing, peeling back layers of misunderstanding and hurt that had built up over decades. Anna shared more about her own experiences in the family after I was kicked out, how things weren't as perfect as they might have appeared, and how she struggled with her own issues regarding David and our dad. Hearing her side has been eye-opening and has given me a new lens through which to view our shared history. Emma reaching out was a curveball I didn't see coming. After our awkward interaction at the funeral, she sent me a long, heartfelt message asking if we could meet and talk. I agreed, albeit with some reservations. We met at a quiet cafe, a neutral space that seemed fitting for such a conversation. Sitting across from Emma after so many years was surreal. She apologized profusely for her part in the misunderstandings and the pain that followed. She explained how she had been manipulated by David, her vulnerability exploited in a game I didn't even know we were playing. While I appreciated her honesty, forgiving her wasn't straightforward. It's one thing to understand intellectually, and quite another to reconcile emotionally. However, our conversation did bring some peace. It helped me close a chapter that had been left open, filled with questions and what-ifs. We parted ways with a mutual understanding that while the past couldn't be changed, acknowledging it could help us both heal and move forward. On a personal note, I've started seeing a therapist to help navigate my feelings about all these developments. The sessions have been incredibly valuable, providing me with tools to process grief, handle complex family dynamics, and forge a path toward healing. Therapy has also encouraged me to explore my own needs and boundaries, ensuring I don't lose myself as I reconnect with these parts of my past. Looking ahead, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm learning that relationships can be rebuilt, even from the most fractured foundations, but they require work, patience, and a lot of understanding. As I continue to rebuild these bridges, I'm also keenly aware of the need to protect my emotional well-being. As I venture further into this journey of reconciliation and healing, I'd love to hear your thoughts on navigating complex family relationships. How do you maintain boundaries while opening up old wounds? How do you ensure that forgiveness doesn't compromise your well-being? Thank you again for all your support. Your advice and kindness have been a beacon during some of my darkest days. I'll keep you updated as this story unfolds. Here's to hoping for more healing and fewer storms. Update 5. Hello Reddit, here I am, back at it with another update from the soap opera that is my life. Thanks a bunch for sticking with me and dishing out all those nuggets of wisdom. They've been a lifesaver, literally. Grab your favorite snack, because this update's a doozy, and there's a lot to unpack. Life has been, well, a lot. Between rekindling old relationships and dodging emotional landmines, it feels like I've been running an emotional marathon. Let's dive into the latest chapters of this saga. My relationship with Anna has taken on a life of its own. We've gone from cautiously circling around each other to genuinely rebuilding the sibling bond we lost so many years ago. It's been a ride, sometimes bumpy, but mostly good. We've been hanging out more, having those long, deep conversations that you can only have with someone who really gets it, who's been through the trenches with you. Recently, Anna hosted a family dinner and invited me over. Yeah, stepping into that house after so many years was like walking into a time capsule, but this time it felt different, more welcoming, like I was stepping into a new chapter rather than revisiting an old one. We laughed, we reminisced, and for a few hours, it felt like the past had been just a bad dream. It was healing in a way I hadn't expected. Now onto the more tangled bits. Emma and I have been trying to find some sort of closure, or a new beginning, but man, it's been tough. After our initial catch-up, which felt promising, things got a bit rocky. We met up again to try and untangle some of the emotional knots from our past. Let's just say it didn't go as planned. Turns out, old wounds don't always heal cleanly, and sometimes they start to itch. We ended up reopening some old arguments, and all those unresolved feelings came flooding back. It was raw and a little bitter. We decided that maybe some relationships are better left in the past, or at least need more time to figure out what they're supposed to be now. We're on a break, giving each other space to breathe and figure things out. Therapy has been my lifeline through all this. It's one thing to navigate complex family dynamics, but it's another to do it while keeping your own mental health in check. My therapist has been fantastic, helping me explore my feelings about forgiveness, change, and what it means to move forward. We've been talking a lot about the idea that healing doesn't always mean going back to how things were. Sometimes it means creating something new, something hopefully better. This perspective has really helped me manage my expectations and work towards building relationships that are healthy and supportive, not just tied together by a shared past. As for what's next, I'm taking it one step at a time. I'm excited about some new opportunities on the horizon, some potential job offers, and a couple of creative projects that might just see the light of day soon. I'm also focusing on enjoying the now, spending time with people who uplift me, diving back into hobbies I love, and maybe, just maybe, starting to date again. I'd love to hear from you guys. How do you handle when old relationships don't pan out the way you hoped? How do you keep moving forward when the past keeps pulling you back? Any tips on managing the delicate balance of hope and realism would be super appreciated. Thanks again for all the love and support. It really does help more than you know. I'll keep you updated as things evolve, and who knows, maybe the next update will have some good news. Here's to hoping for smoother sailing ahead. Cheers!